Welcome to eWay Podcasts, podcasts from the world of CRM, business, and entrepreneurship. In today's article, called 4 Ps as a basis of your successful marketing mix, we'll discover the idea of the 4 Ps. Let's explore how to mix those Ps to attract your customers. We'll start with a simple question. What do the 4 Ps even mean? The answer's clear. Make the right product at the right place, for the right price, with the right promotion. This concept of the so-called marketing mix emerged more than half a century ago. It was a marketing professor, Edmund Jerome McCarthy, who came up with the model of the 4 Ps in the 1960s. He defined the basic 4 parameters and created a strategic system to create the best recipe for success for your product or service. Let's put it this way. You must come up with a product or service that customers desire. You need to get it to a place where they can buy it and set a fair price. Now you have a product with a price tag displayed on the counter in the store. The last step is to make sure people know about it. Promotion is the last P in the mix. All Ps, product, place, price, and promotion, are equally important. Underestimate one P and the resulting strategy may not work. A perfect example of a failed 4P strategy is the bio product, which travels to the consumer over half the globe. People wouldn't like that. We'll divide today's podcast into 5 parts. First, we'll focus on your target audience and see how your customers affect your 4 Ps. In the next 4 parts, we'll go through each P, products, place, price, and promotion, and explain what each of them includes, how to ask the right questions to define them for yourself, and we'll also give some examples to help you grasp them. In the end, we'll take a sneak peek into other marketing mix systems. Let's get to it. Target audience. All marketing activities, including the 4 Ps, should always start with the question, who's my target audience? You may wonder why it's so important. Well, it's impossible to design the features of your product if you don't know who you're making it for. That's why you should always know who your product or service is for. Describe your typical customer. Are they male or female? How old are they? What's their socioeconomic status? Where do they live and where do they come from? What's their achieved level of education? What do they do in their spare time, and what interests do they have? What field do they work in? What's their profession? What common problems do they deal with? Is there anything special about them? Once we start talking about each of the 4 Ps, you'll understand why defining the target audience is so important. For this podcast, we'll now briefly describe 3 different target groups to demonstrate how it works. Target Group 1, the mom. Your customer is a woman in her 20s who's on maternity leave. She has 1 or more children and spends most of her time with them. The mom falls in the middle class. Her household's income consists of her husband's salary and her paid maternity leave. She has primary or secondary school education. The mom is also often tired and eager to go out and meet people. Target Group 2, the manager. Your customer is a middle-aged man who works in a medium or large company as a manager. He spends most of his time at work. On weekends, you can find him sitting at his computer finishing reports. The manager has a university degree and works in a technical field. His income is far above standard. He doesn't have much free time, but when he finds a moment, he likes to play golf. The manager always deals with never-ending stress, deadlines, and a lack of time. Target Group 3, the environmentalist. Your customer is a man or woman aged from 20 to 50 years old. They're vegetarians, actively interested in the environment, and of course, they sort waste. They have a secondary or university education and see work only as a necessity. Their income is slightly above the national average. In their free time, they set out on a hike in nature where they pick up trash. They're troubled by environmental issues and sympathize with the Greenpeace organization. We showed you 3 examples of target groups so you could see how different those groups could be. We also hope we inspired you to start thinking about how to define your target group. We'll use the target groups the mom, the manager, and the environmentalist later to demonstrate how each group affects each of the 4 Ps. The first P, product. The first P is about your product or service. It isn't just about deciding what it is you're going to sell, that's just the tip of the iceberg. You also need to consider the user's feelings and the experience that you deliver to your customer. Regarding the first P, there's several product characteristics that you need to take into account. Those are quality, design, packaging, features, and function. All of them affect the success of your product. Don't forget to follow current trends. Take a generation of millennials as an example. They want to experience the product, so they don't buy it, they rent it instead. Shared services and products are on the rise, and according to economist Jeremy Rifkin, in 20 years, we'll all rent cars, not own them. Here are 5 questions to help you think about your product or service. What's your product's name, and what's the brand concept? Why should a customer buy your product instead of a competitor's? What problem does your product solve? Where and how will customers use your product? What does the product look like? What's its ideal size, color, function, and features? Now, back to our 3 defined target groups. Let's say you decided to sell coffee. That's your product. Let us show you 3 different approaches to a product based on who your customer is. First, the customer is the target group, the mom. The mom wants her coffee to smell good and contain caffeine, so the quality of your beans won't be the deciding factor. However, the design and packaging may matter. What if you sold your coffee in colorful animal-themed packaging to attract the attention of children? It would also be an interesting idea to offer free juice or a small toy with every coffee. The mom often has her hands full. What if your cups come with a strap to hang on the stroller? Second, the customer is the target group, the manager. In the case of the manager, the coffee quality will come first. He cares about prestige and only enjoys the best of the best. Obtain rare coffee beans and speed up the preparation process so that you don't make him wait. Serve the coffee in designer cups or mugs with a written Wi-Fi password for your cafe's internet. Make yourself useful to him. Third, the customer is the target group, the environmentalist. First, make sure your coffee is fair trade. For the environmentalist, the environmental impact of your products will be the most crucial factor. It also might be a good idea to get rid of disposable cups and serve coffee only in mugs customers bring or buy on site. We have talked about the first of the 4 Ps, about the product, and we also saw it influenced by your target audience. Now it's time to take a look at the second P. The second P, place. The place represents where your product's distributed. It answers the question, how will my customers get to my service or product? Find out where your target audience is and where the product might come in handy. Then, deliver it to them. Whether you rent a store in a shopping center, set up an e-shop, or set a stall at the local market, it all falls under the second P, the place. The following 5 questions will help you consider where the right place is to sell your product. How do customers find and buy your product? Will you offer your product only in stores, online, or both? Where and in what kinds of stores do customers look for your product? Do you need a salesperson, or is it better to present your product at trade fairs? What does your competition do? What can you learn from it, and how can you differ from it? Let's get back to our 3 target groups again. Your product is still coffee. So how do you think about the place where you sell your product depending on who your customer is? First, the customer is the target group, the mom. Let's say the mom spends most of her time on a playground or in quieter neighborhoods. You could rent a cafe by the park, ideally with a garden where you can place sand pits and climbing frames. Or you can buy a bicycle cafe that you can easily move to the playground and use it for events like a Children's Day. Second, the customer is the target group, the manager. The manager usually drinks coffee at work. What if you were the main supplier of coffee and coffee machines for the entire company management? You can also try opening a small cafe right on the first floor of the office building. Third, the customer is the target group, the environmentalist. Offer your coffee to alternative businesses. Set up a stall at a vegetarian festival or a planet-saving organization event. If the environmentalist spends a lot of time online, it would be worth opening an e-shop and selling other fair trade products in addition to coffee. Now you know what the second of the four P's is, the place. It's also clear that where and how your product should be sold depends on your target audience. Now, let's talk about the third P. The third P, price. Don't underestimate the pricing policy of your product or service. If you set a price too high, customers will mark your product as overpriced and won't buy it. On the other hand, if you set a price too low, customers will question the quality of your product and they won't buy the product either. To make matters more complicated, the third P also includes promotions, volume discounts, wholesale prices, bargain packages, limited and special editions, and many other ways to work with a price policy. Are you thinking about how to set a pricing policy? Try to ask yourself these 5 questions. What are the production and distribution costs of your product? How is your price compared to the competition? How much are your customers willing to pay? How much money do you want to make by selling the product? What's the typical price of a similar product on the current market? And we're back at our 3 target groups. Let's see how to set the price of your product, which is still coffee, based on who your customer is. First, the customer is the target group, the mom. If you want to sell coffee to the mom, you need to set a relatively low price. The family needs every penny, and she won't spend too much on coffee. On the other hand, you can create a convenient menu such as 1 scoop of ice cream for free with every coffee. It could be a success. Second, the customer is the target group, the manager. The manager cares about prestige and certainly doesn't count every penny. He's willing to pay extra for good coffee. You can try offering a limited luxury edition of Civic Coffee or a coffee subscription, meaning you'll deliver a package of coffee right to his office every month. Third, the customer is the target group, the environmentalist. Due to the zero-waste, fair trade bio-quality of your product, you can set a higher price. You might also think of sending 10% of your earnings to poor families in Ethiopia or otherwise contributing to charity. You can even offer a discount to regular blood donors. We have just discussed the third of the 4 Ps, the price. We also applied it with different target audiences to see if it makes a difference. Well, it definitely does. Finally, the last 4th P is awaiting our attention. The 4th P, promotion. The last P is all about communication. It represents the question, how do you tell people about your product or service? The promotion P includes not only marketing activities, but also public relations or even internal communication because a happy employee makes excellent advertising. Promotion lets you tell people what and how your product solves their troubles. You can explain why they need it and how your product helps them. However, it's necessary to choose the right medium, a suitable communication channel. Will you reach your target audience with a podcast, radio or television advertising, PPC advertising, newsletter, newspaper advertising? Or do you need someone to recommend your product personally? When thinking about promoting your product, ask yourself these 5 questions. What's the best way to communicate the benefits of your product? What communication channels does your target audience use and follow? What's the best time to start promoting? How is your product different from the competitors? What advertising do your competitors use, and how will it affect your communication? Let's go back to our 3 target groups for the last time. Remember, you sell coffee. Now we'll see how the product promotion should change based on who your customer is. First, the customer is the target group, the mom. The mom spends every morning, noon, and evening mostly at home with your children. Therefore, it might make sense to promote your coffee through television advertising. The ad for your coffee could also appear in women's magazines she flips through from time to time. And don't forget the Facebook groups, internet discussion forums, or the increasingly popular mommy bloggers. Second, the customer is the target group, the manager. Imagine you promoted your espresso in the Forbes Espresso business newsletter. That could be a hit. You could also try to make a golf course partnership or run a joint campaign with Bentley or Rolex. Third, the customer is the target group, the environmentalist. You could give away free coffee during protests against animal cruelty. That may work with the environmentalists pretty well. Likewise, you can travel to an authentic fair trade coffee roasting plant and document your knowledge on the blog and social networks. You must give your coffee a heart and a story in order to impress this target group. Now we know the last fourth P, promotion. As you have noticed with all the previous Ps, it's also crucial for the promotion P to know your target audience. That way, you know how, what, and when to communicate, and with whom. We have discussed all four Ps: product, place, price, and promotion. We have also explained how to define each P and how the target group affects it. Occasionally, you may encounter four Ps in the following sequence: place, price, product, and promotion. It doesn't matter in which order you consider your Ps, what matters is to bear all of them in mind. The four Ps help you not only when launching a new product, but also as a test to your existing marketing strategy. Just ask the same questions for each P and see where the answers lead you. What if you reduce the price by 5%? Or if you expand the range of different models? What if you sell directly instead of via salespeople? Would it be better to invest in PR instead of internet advertising? Use market research and try to answer the questions as accurately as possible. Also, look at your current marketing mix from the customer's perspective. Does it meet their needs? Can the customers buy your product at their favorite store? Will the price suit them? Will they even notice your advertisement at all? Asking those questions represents a handy mechanism to gain insight into your marketing strategy. Of course, there are other variations of the 4Ps model. For example, the 7Ps model adds people, processes, and physical layout to the equation. The 4Cs represents another model, which perceives the marketing mix from the perspective of buyers. It consists of customer needs, cost, convenience, and communication. What's our advice at the end of this podcast? Keep asking and changing your marketing mix until you're sure it works the best. Use all available information and always bear your target groups in mind. Test your marketing communication regularly and adapt it to market changes. Then both your mix and business will work. You have been listening to an eWay podcast. The podcast was written by Vladana Bakova, spoken by Cliff Koma. For more inspirational audio records, please visit our blog at blog.eway-crm.com, podcast section.